you tired of your PC feeling like it's running on Windows 95 or 98 or XP or me or Windows 7? Wouldn't you like to have your PC feel like it's running on Windows 11? Well, maybe it's time to get it beastie. Are you ready to get it beastie? Stay tuned. Well, everybody, we're starting a little early, but welcome back once again to the live feed right here on JJ's PC Builds. Alright, I'm just going to cut through the goddamn chase. Okay? I'm going to put it to you like this. I've been watching for the last few days on a lot of reviewers complaining about a lot of things. And on top of listening to one reviewer complain about another reviewer talking about their personal finances on YouTube, which I think is wrong as shit. Yeah, I did use the S word. I think that's wrong as hell. It is none of that reviewer's business to be into somebody else's business. You know, it's basically like somebody walking into your house saying, "Give me your money," and just walking out with no police. That's pretty much how it goes now these days. But anyway. I put a link to the video for Jay's 2 cents. I'm not going to air the video between him and Gamers Nexus. I'm not going to air the video. But I think that's pushing it a little too far when you're investigating a company and turn around, then going in with, just to say, to me, I know it's a mutual understanding between reviewers and stuff like that, but to me, I think that takes it a little bit too far. When they got to dig through public records and everything else, asking people questions and stuff like that, digging, like, what are you? Are you a PC building outlet, or are you a news outlet? Make up your mind, man. I mean, for 1 minute, you talk about, the products and everything else, and, you're going good with the products. Next minute, you're spending $30,000, $40,000 just to investigate a company. What, are you now a private investigator? You are a PC reviewer. If you're going to become to where you're going to be a news outlet, then stop reviewing fucking PCs. Stop giving the reviewers a bad goddamn rap because we have to listen to it every goddamn fucking day. Every day. I'm getting an email every day. Are you going to stick with PCs, or are you going to become like, that outlet over there? I'm like, I run my channel the way I want. And like I said, it's going to be reviewing PC news. It's going to be either building a PC or anything dealing with the PC. My experience I'm bringing to this channel. So, I'm going to tell everybody, point fucking blank. And I don't care if they demonetize this video or not. Understand, my channel does not reflect other people's channels. My channel reflects my goddamn channel. Nobody else's. Whatever they do on their channel, that's their business, not JJ's PC Builds. It's not our business. When we review about a product, we review about a product. I'm not going to go, if they want to leave benchmarks, that's fine. Okay? And if they want the public to use their benchmarks, which they have a free source for that anyway, then, that's cool. But when you're sitting there, you're dragging up bones about other reviewers and this and that, dealing with this company and trying to make your story, that's where I pull the line, dude. That's basically prying into another company's business. That's not even a part of your damn story. And you probably got permission. Who knows? You probably didn't get permission. Who knows? But if you try that shit over here, I'm going to bite your nose off and I'm going to take and rip you a new ass on YouTube. So don't get into my fucking business. I'm going to put it to you like that. Oh, I'm sorry. Y'all are wondering what I'm talking about. Well, I'm going to explain who it is or what it is. It's going on right now on the internet. It's all over YouTube. Okay? The problem is everybody's talking about EK water blocks and this and that and this and that. Who cares? It's either you want to buy their product or you don't. Whatever their internal problem is, that's their problem, not yours. Unless they owe you money, then it becomes your problem. But they don't owe me any money, so it's not my problem. And I'm going to tell everybody to stop emailing me about EK. I don't have contracts with nobody. Nobody. None. Nobody. Understand this. Nobody. The only contract I got is with myself and my channel. This is the one reason why I kind of thought about, the thing of sponsorship and everything else and how bad it could roll downhill over time. So I know what I'm talking about right now has nothing to do with PCs. It does in a sense, but it doesn't. But guys, don't get me wrong. I have mad respect for all the reviewers that are out here. But I'm not going to have too much respect for you when you sit there and you bullface another company and you drag other reviewers into your slew of crap. I'm not going to do it. That's the reason why I posted that video down, that video link to Jay's 2 cents. I posted it in the comments. Reason why I posted it in the comments was because I'm not going to air it. Because that's not right to the other reviewer. If he says, okay, hey man, guess what? He sends me an email, says, hey man, can you take and give me your 2 cents on this and, put it up there and review it and everything else? Yeah, I'm going to do that. But as long as, I know I did it twice before on Jay's 2 cents, but it was a good thing for his part. It was not a bad thing. It was a good thing. And I was praising him on all the hard accomplishments he'd done. Okay. Machine says, I have not put anything on Discord about this. I honestly don't know what to think about the whole EK thing. My friend, listen to me. I am not thinking about it. It has nothing to do with us. If you're doing into the water cooling situation and, you like EK, then, that's good. Hey, it's good as good. Or you like a different water cooling company. A lot of people now these days are going AIO coolers. They're not even worrying about, doing a full-fledged water build, is because it costs between $500 and $1,000 for a decent one. Decent one cost you, okay one will cost you about $300 or $400, but to get a really good one, it's going to cost you $1,000. So not a lot of people, they look at an AIO cooler that costs $50. That'll give you the same amount of performance. They look at a $1,000 cooler, they're saving like $950. So I could care less about the water cooling part right now. There'll become time in the future when prices come down on that to where it's, affordable, like a couple $100. I can see that is reasonable. I know there's machining and everything else, and I know the cost, there's a lot of cost in machining. So, yeah, I understand that. I am waiting to see about what EK says about all this. Machine, I'm going to tell you something, man. There's nothing to wait about. If you if you look at all the videos that are being put out right now, you got one person, one reviewer stirring up the whole pot of the PC community, telling everybody, hey, guess what they're doing wrong? Look what they did to Asus. Look what they did with Nvidia, AMD, EK water blocks, let's see, Newegg, Amazon. The list goes on and on and on. If you're going to become a news outlet, then stop benchmarking PCs, is my point. If you're going to become a news outlet and you want to take and air somebody's dirty fucking laundry, then put yourself in the news outlet category other than the PC category. I understand you like spreading the news, but I'm going to tell you, there's many, many, many outlets out here right now, as it is, many that air the news. So why do you need another reviewer to air the news? It's just ridiculous shit. I guess bad news sells. Yeah, I agree. Sometimes it does. Hello there, MTBK. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. But I'm going to tell you guys, this is becoming ridiculous. To me, it's becoming ridiculous. Hello, pseudoscientist. Good to see you. No use getting all worked up over all this, Jay. Just ignore and move on. Hey, you know what? Truthfully, yeah. Maybe I should. But when they sit there and send me email after email after email, and I got people that, get on the phone and sit there and they call me, my friends, they're like, what the fuck, man? I got to hear it. I have to hear it. It's one thing, it's another, it's what everybody is. You got to understand, what everybody does in a whole spreads like gossip. I heard about this 4 o'clock in the freaking morning. Getting phone call after phone call after phone call. I turned off my phone because I got tired of hearing it. It's just fucking ridiculous, man. Make sure y'all get your drinking snacks, by the way. Oh, let's see. Pseudoscientist says, what did I miss? What is the rumor? Well, the rumor is that, the thing, you got one reviewer calling out a company that's doing wrong by their employees, their vendors, and everything else, and they're calling them out. And then now the same reviewer calls out another reviewer about their money exchanging hands. And now you got one reviewer on that other reviewer on the video trying to explain why he had a contract with EK Water Blocks. Because there was something that was not reported correctly. And you know, that's the reason why I say like this. I keep the PC news on the books. My personal expenses, I don't air into YouTube. That's the reason why nobody got anything to say about my personal freaking expense, because it comes all out of my pocket. And I could have monetized. I can monetize. Just to let you guys know, I can monetize, partial monetize, but I'm waiting. I didn't do it just yet. Because I still want to get to 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. I'm doing it the honest way. If it's the slow way, it's the slow way. I'll do it the honest way. This way I know I'm not getting bots on my channel. I'm getting people. So, I'm scared of water cooling power consumption. MTBK, I don't blame you. I'd be concerned about it too. But AIO cooler I've had in here quite a while. I don't seem to have a problem with it. And not about temperatures. I am into compatibility, so cheap air cooling solution or passive one does the job. Gotcha. Thank you, Machine. Thank you for having my back, man. But, you know, I'm just trying to say it like this. I mean, there's so much heaviness in the PC community. You know what I've been saying? Nothing but problems from people complaining about other companies. I'm going to tell you like this. Okay, breathe, and I'll roll it back. From now on, I'm going to roll myself back every time I think they're doing something wrong. I'll save that for another day. But for right now, what's happening with these companies, like, you know, you got Nvidia, you got AMD, you got Intel, you got Asus, you got MSI, you got Gigabyte, you got ASRock, you know, you got many companies out here right now in the PC world. The one thing that nobody's concentrating on is the fact of they have been talking for months after months after months after months after months after months about desktop PC equipment. The only thing that's really came out was from AMD and the 9000X series. Nvidia's been talking, you know, people have been talking about Nvidia leaking this, leaking that, and it's going on and on and on and on, months after months after months after months. And then everybody, you know, I'm just breaking it down for y'all. Then they come out with the new game, Star Wars. That new Star Wars game. And then they try to test it with the 4090. Boom. They lose their shit because guess what? A 4090 can't keep up with a game. The strongest GPU out there today on the market. I know there's something coming new, but they lose their shit because it can't play 4K at 41 FPS. Unbelievable. let's see. I was informed that new all-in-one water coolers use a coolant that evaporates when it leaks. Okay. Pseudoscientist. You have to understand something about AIO coolers. If the pump goes bad, just say if, you can rebuild it into a straight water block. This is one. Two, you can take and put new fittings and rethread new fittings onto that water block. With the radiator cooler, you can do the same thing and refit it for new fittings. 4, you can get a $20 pump and incorporate it into your AIO cooler. Use new coolant that will match with the metal since it's all aluminum, and have an extra pump in there to circulate the water. Just because the pump isn't running on one doesn't mean you can't incorporate a second pump to that AIO cooler. So, if you want to save money, that's how you save money. That was amazing when I saw that a 4090 could not run that game at 4K maxed out settings. My question is, what are they using to make the game? Do they not know how hard the game is to run? Well, machine, yeah, I don't think they do, because remember, I told you before they start coming out with these new games that they're going to improve the games to where they're going to succeed with the biggest GPU on the market. And guess what happened? The new, was it Snowdrop? The new Snowdrop engine, Unreal Engine, new Snowdrop came out. Boom. It knocked the 4090, making it look like a GTX 1650. Get that. It took a 4090 and pushed it all the way back about how many years? About 15 years to round a GTX 1650. I'm just guessing, guys. I don't have the actual numbers in front of me. I'm just guessing. As an example. But think about it. Think about it. That game pushed it all the way backwards. And that's the strongest GPU on the market right now. Unless you buy a Hopper chip, which is this freaking big, and then incorporate it as a GPU. That's the only way you're going to run that game normally. So, yeah, leakage is a different problem. Water has no business in my electric devices. Hey, air cooling is just as good. Air cooling is just as good as AIO cooling, I think. The air cooler I got that I had for my system before is just as good as this AIO now. I'm just testing this one, but I can't give you any more results about this 240 AIO cooler. Is because it's been banded. It's been banned from the United States. And I don't get no warranty now. Amazon already told me they're not going to honor the warranty on it. So, I'm screwed. But I come up with the solution for the future for this AIO cooler, which I'm going to turn it around and use the parts. It's all in DIY. Hey, it's all a part of DIY, is to come up with something new or something you have and create something new to make your system run even better. So, Star Wars Outlaws is unappealing in many ways. No need to be sad. 4090 struggles. Hey, I ain't sad. I got a 4070 right here. I am not sad. But I'm just making a point that that game made a 4090 this big. Made it look this big. A game brought it to its knees. It's crazy. It's sick stupid. These new game engines with AI support are designed to ease the work developers have to and focus on the art itself. Now when you're having the AI do the artwork itself and you're not actually, they're not even coding anymore because they're letting AI do the coding. So, FF7 remake runs 100 times as good. I agree. I play it too, so. Machine says it is the same engine as Avatar Frontiers of the same engine that runs in 5 or 6 different games. But the Star Wars Outlaw is so defined in textures. You'll never, ever, ever run a GPU at 100%. You never get it up to the full scale. You're only going to be at 70% full scale. You're losing 30% of full scale off of that game, no matter what you're playing on. Even the 7900 XTX can't keep up. It's running worse than the 4090. I heard reports of the 7900 XTX running at 18 FPS, 19, barely even playable. Come on. So, I can post some in-depth videos. There's a dude who made Minecraft 262.000 times as fast. Yeah, well, Minecraft, there's nothing really to it. You can make it run 6,000 times faster if you wanted to, but why? It doesn't really accomplish that much, man. Truthfully, this game, the problem is that even with your most up-to-date GPU, this GPU can't keep up with the new game. Developers should have used their head before they even decide to put the game initially out. They should have put a benchmark out as a preview, but they didn't. That's the reason why a lot of people are kind of wanting their money back over this game. I think an AIO cooler gives you more room in your computer, looks better than air cooling. Machine, sometimes it does, but sometimes you can always make air cooling look better than water cooling. Sometimes. I have given up on RT. Well, looking at these new games, I'm not really going to worry about the ray tracing. Because if my GPU can't keep up on ray tracing, then there's no sense worrying about it. So the scientist says, and water coolers do work better at high end. Yeah. Some people that spend $200 to $300 on high end turn around, get 4 to 5 years, just like the ones that are low end, and they break down and they got to send it back to the company to get another one. So, truthfully, either way you look at it, the shelf life never changes, no matter if you get high end or low end. I ain't never heard nobody having AIO cooler for 10 years yet, so because by then, with having no actual way to fill up the water that's inside it, it dries out. And nobody ever pays attention to when it dries out. And they burn up the pump, which they should have put a little bit of a shot glass in one of the lines that feeds into the pump to circulate the coolant, so you can see how much coolant's left in there. Just by putting a little glass bubble in the line. It would have been simple. They design games with RT enabled all the time. Yeah, they do. What was it? Intel's XESS. RT's enabled. On Black Myth Wuhan, I noticed that too. So, yeah, I do agree with that. RT is too hard to run, at least right now, I think. I will focus on rasterization for the near future. Well, it's not focusing on the rate, it's not focusing on the rasterization, man. The thing is, what you want to focus on is splitting up a little bit of rasterization with a little bit of ray tracing. You know, you can do that by balancing the rasterization and the ray tracing by, you know, turning on full ultra with the ray tracing, the rasterization, and turning down and balancing up your ray tracing, going from the low to the medium and so on. Make it to where, you know, your visuals and everything look good. But you can balance a little bit of ray tracing in there without making any visual harm to the game. So, I do that all the time. I don't have any problem with ray tracing. If my PC can't run a ray tracing game, I can put it all the way down on the lowest level and let it run off of that. So it's not a big deal. I like you can look and see in an instant the CPU temp with ones that have the LCD. Yeah, I do agree with that, pseudoscientist. The ones with the temperature displays are pretty cool to have on for your AIO water block. Your AIO cooler, the water block itself, having that on there. Yeah, I do agree. At least you can see into your PC without having to take and go through HW info or anything else just to see what temperature that your water cooler is running at. Because it's not run through the motherboard to get that temperature. It's directly onto the block itself. So that is an advantage for you to know that if HW info is reporting it running like 5 degrees cooler compared to what's on the AIO cooler, the actual temperature gauge, and you're seeing a difference, then you'll know, hey, well, maybe I gotta kind of figure out why there's a discrepancy. So yeah, I do agree. Um, MTBK says Jay's 2 cents. Promise to come maintain the water cooled PC he gifted to Terry Crews after 2 years. Yeah, I saw that video. I thought he was already taking care of that. MTBK. I thought he was already taking care of that. So I guess it's like you say you're going to take care of something and you haven't gotten to it yet. That's kind of bad news. That's what I kind of see that happens with some reviewers. I'm going to tell you, when I made a clear decision on the fact of, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. Okay? I'm going to plan for it. I'm going to do it. From A to Z, beginning to end. On that, either a live stream or a video. It's going from A to Z. I'm not going to beat around the bush. If people don't want to watch a video that goes 2.5 hours, then don't watch it. Somebody else will. Simple. So, if I do a complete build of a PC and it takes me 3 to 5 to 6 hours on a video, then expect it. What's not being showed is these little split clips. When you're trying to learn how to build a PC, they show you these little split clips. And I'll tell you what, for years that pissed me off. Because they're not showing you exactly how to do it. They're telling you about it, but they're not showing you the cause and effect to it. They tell you about it, but they're not doing it. Then you got to flip through 100 videos just to get your answer. It's annoying. It really is. But when you got one complete video that you can scan through and find the answers to everything that you need to know to build a PC, that's a different story. So I made the decision that the next build that I do, no matter how long it is and how long it takes, I am not rushing through that damn thing whatsoever. I am building it piece by piece by piece by piece. So when somebody comes back and watches that video, at least they can scan through to the part they want to go to and see how to do something. A complete comprehensive video. Instead of, everybody crying about, oh, the video's too long. Well, then scan through it. That's the reason why you get that 5-second forward kind of thing. My God. The PC hardware is old already. Jay waited for the 10-core i7-6950X to release before building this rig. No, I didn't. Oh, no, I did not. I would never, ever, ever run a 10-core processor. I'm going to tell you why. One, it won't meet with Windows scheduling. It'll give you a hell of a time, just like a 16-core, just like a 12-core, that you got to go through all that crap of the scheduling with Windows, either Windows 10 or Windows 11. I'll stay 8-core. I get just as good performance with 8-core than everybody does with 16. End of story. Oh, Jay's 2 cents. Oh, my bad. I thought you, no, I was just saying. Look, that's just my opinion because guys, listen. With an 8-core processor, you could play a hell of games. You could play a hell of a lot of games. Okay? You don't need something with double amount of cores because half of them are going to be parked anyway. Unless you're running some kind of game that requires all the cores. And when that happens, and you guys better hear this when I'm telling you this, when you run all 16 cores on a processor at the same time, you better have something that's like liquid nitrogen to keep it cold. Because you're going to need it. 8-core processor, it's more manageable. 10-core processor is ridiculous. That's just my opinion. And that's the way I'm going to say it. I mean, the build Jay's 2 cents made for Terry Crews. Well, yeah, I mean, dude, I understand. If he builds one of those Intel kind of motherboard kind of things, that's up to him. If he wants to build that Intel. Me, I'm still going to stay with AMD. On the 8-core line, and I ain't going no further than that. Because most of your benchmarks now these days being done are on the 8-core 16 thread line. Unless you run Intel, to where they chop off half the threads and they call it what? What do they call that? I can't even. That's the reason why I don't even deal with Intel. Is because they got so many screwed up numbers. Does me no good. Why would I deal with Intel? So. We know 8-core is the goal. Yeah, it is, man. It's been the goal for years. Look, back in the 80s, back in the 90s, back in the early 2000s, everything was about the 4-core. The 4-core processors. And then they come out with the what do you call it? Let me remember. Jeez. They ran the 4-core solid processors. Then they come out with the threaded 4-core, made it 4-core 8 threads. They had some of them just running 4 cores, and no threads. That was for many of years that they ran a lot of non-threaded processors. But when they come out with the MMX technology and everything else and boosted everything up, then they ran the 8 threads off the processor. Then they ran into more problems. So, there was a whole year that they couldn't sell computers. So, that's what I look at. So the scientist says, I'm a sucker. I'm probably gonna go for the Ultra Core something K. I don't think I'm gonna. I really don't think I'm gonna deal with Intel. I mean, yeah, they got the Core Ultra, like MTBK says. They got the Core Ultra 285K. Hello, Katha. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the channel. And you say, I have processor AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D plus a RTX 4090. So far, it runs great. With Second Life PBR view. Well, I can tell you this. Running Second Life with anything that's in the 40 series with Nvidia and running Um, let's see. Zen 3, Zen 4, and Zen 5, running from B550 all the way up to, the 800 series. Well, not 800 series just yet, but the 600 series. You got the 500, you got the 600 series motherboards. Yeah. If you run enough RAM and everything else, you can get good 500-600 FPS off of Second Life. I do agree. So, waiting to see the reviews and the orcs. Yeah, there's a lot of reviews going on, and there's a lot of people waiting for the 9000 X3D series processors, guys. A lot of people are waiting for it. They have already sampled the 9000X series, and guess what they found out? If you want to run a workstation processor for gaming, that's pretty much, if you put in the balance of the way AMD has it kind of messed up a little bit on the performance of these new processors, is basically like taking a Xeon processor from Intel and playing games on it. Same thing. If you weigh a high-speed Xeon processor compared to the new AMD processors, guess what? They're running neck and neck right now. That's what I got from a friend of mine. He said he put them neck and neck. Ain't good. That's all I'm going to tell you. I think reviews are guessing way low on the prices, especially GPU prices. Well, you know what? Don't think they're going to be low for long. GPU prices right now in an average are sitting static. Basically, they're stagnant. They're not moving. Few here, few there, but not a few all around. As one big market, it's sitting at an average stagnant. It's not really moving this much. Because if you guys go back, because I do graphics card nightmares, okay? I look at GPU prices every week. And what I've been seeing month by month is the prices would go down and then they would go back up, and they're doing this. They're exchanging prices. They're not, the price theory of your GPUs are still staying at an average the same price. They're just floating them up and down to get people to buy them. It's like it's basically a marketing attempt to tempt you to buy because the price dropped low of that GPU. It's a fluctuation. But in overall average, it's still the same freaking price. If you don't pay the price for it, somebody else will. So either way you look at it, it's still the same price. The only thing that makes it better is that if they keep the price of it down low and keep it continuous, then it's locked in. So, oh my goodness, guys. Oh my goodness. $6.49 is the price for it's Moore's Law of Dead things. I'm going to tell you what I've been hearing. When it comes to the new, if you're talking about the new Nvidia GPUs, they had to go back and R&D them just a little bit more, so there's going to be a little bit more cost to the new 50 series GPUs. from what I'm hearing is they're going to go up a couple hundred more dollars on the 5090 and 100 more on the 5080, 50 to 60 more on the 5070, and about 40 to 50 on the 5060. And the 5050, they're probably going to go about $45 more. In the 5040, there's supposed to be a 5040. So they're going to do a 5040 that's $35 higher than 2 generations ago. I don't know how they're going to figure that one out. But that's what I hear. If the 9800X3D is great, I'll get that. Pseudoscientist, let me explain something about that. The new X3D processors are unlocked. They're supposed to be unlocked. That means they finally figured out they could take a regular processor and add more 3D cache to it without having to, worry about the fact of if you heat up the processor too much, you might burn out the 3D cache. They're supposedly moved over the 3D cache to where it's independent, so that way it doesn't burn it out. So you might get lucky and get one that you might get lucky and get a 9950X3D or the 9800X3D that you can overclock like crazy, and it gives you great performance. I'm hoping that'll happen. So Gata says, yeah, but I like have ultra graphics even in the clubs. Yeah, well, I don't blame you. With SL, that's what everybody wants. I know I made a couple videos on Second Life, but the thing is this. Back then, I was trying to match and figure out a way to use lower, you could say like cheaper GPUs to run on Second Life to where, it's budget friendly, to where you can get into clubs with not having any problems. But I can tell you right now, if you got anything that's from a 3060 up, you have no problem. And if you're running from anything from 6800 XT and up for AMD, you won't have any problems with Second Life whatsoever. Graphics cards became more advanced now, so it's not as hard on your whole PC running in Second Life, because Second Life runs different than DirectX. It doesn't run DirectX. So let's see. I know it will not be for long, because in a time they will bring new stuff, and then hardware is too slow again. Yeah, I do agree with that as well. Look, I'm going back from 20 years being on Second Life up to today. So, trust me, I've been through all of it just like everybody else has. Okay. Machine says, I am looking for the 8800 XT. Don't look too hard. They keep taking it. They keep saying, oh, I'm going to bring it in. I'm going to take it off. I'm bringing it back. They're going back and forth, back and forth. They don't even... They're going back to R&D again, because they can't get something to work right. And they're going back and forth. I'm done with that confusing. That is just too confusing, the way AMD is, saying, well, we're only going to go mid-level And then they tried to make a high-end card for mid-level to embarrass Nvidia, and then turn around, they embarrass themselves because they can't make a card that keeps up with Nvidia. One minute they can because they got software that's pushing their cards in that direction. Next minute they can't because Nvidia's got better software. You know, it's going back and forth, back and forth. Guys, I look at it this way. I'm a reviewer, not a yo-yo. Just saying. Let's see. But I will wait for the reviews of the course. If it is not better than the 7900 GRE, I might go that route. Alright. Well. But if you looked at the prices of the 7900 XT, they came down some. That's what shocked me when I looked at it Friday on Graphics Card Nightmares. And they have a game bundle too. They have a game bundle on that. So you can get $100 game bundle and save yourself $100, right? And have that GPU for what I priced it out at, $580 for a 20 gigabyte VRAM video card. Guys, I'm not lying to you. Go look yourself. I mean, it's there. MTBK says, an RX 7800 mobile 12 gigabyte is in the making to compete with the RX 4070. How many... I want you to understand this. How many graphics cards are they building to compete with the 4070? Obviously, everybody's stuck on the 4070. The reason why they're stuck on the 4070 because this is the only graphics card that came with an 8-pin connector that runs 200 watts. Max, 200 watts. Compared to the 7800 XT of AMD, that's got 4 more gigabytes of VRAM, but this card is still keeping up with the 7800 XT, which is running at 263 watts, compared to 200 watts. That's their max. 263 on the 7800 XT, 200 on the 4070. So do the math. They're trying to say, oh yeah, the 7800 XT is better than the 4070. Actually, they're even score. I tested both. Even score. So no matter what card they threw out there, bro, it's still going to be the same thing. All they're doing is they're taking away they're just taking a couple chips off of a board and then putting a couple resistors in place and boom, selling it to you. You're buying the same crap. That's the reason why I stopped at this point with these two, is because I've watched them sell you almost the same crap every time. This has got 3 different variations off the same processor. This has got 4 different variations. The 7800 XT, I'll put that right there and get this out of the way. 7800 XT has 4 different variations that you don't know about, that they hide from everybody. I had a friend that told me that he got this information from somebody that, you know, does the work in a company of this. So, it is what it is. Just saying. I just don't like that the fact that Nvidia is going to make a 4070 that's going to be GDDR6 and not GDDR6X. This is 6X. This is not the GDR6. That's going to be 1.5% slower on the RAM, and the processor, that's going to be an additional 12% slower than this one right here. So add it up, and you hopefully that a 6750, an RX 6750 XT won't blow the 4070 with the GDR6 out of the water. I hope not. So, let's keep moving on, guys. RTX 4070 laptop GPU. $649 for a Core Ultra 285K. MTBK, I don't know. I'm not going to look at that processor, because look at what happened with 13th gen and 14th gen of Intel Raptor Lake processors. And now they're trying to fix a 2-year goof up. I don't know. And now they're running out of processors. On top of, they're running out of the 13th gen processors. And the 14th gen's getting close to being there. They're running out of those two SKUs, the whole SKUs. They had that on the news the other day. I don't know. Intel's got a lot of problems. That's what my point is. And I'm not about to be a part of Intel's solution. So, if an RTX 5050 will be 100 watts, sure, an RTX 5040 could be PCIe slot powered 75 watts tops. Yeah. No, with no external plug, I could agree to that. I could agree to that. But there's going to be another thing too. There's going to be a new caveat that wasn't totally brought up to everybody, that people weren't paying attention about. They're going to do something different with the graphics cards this time around with Nvidia. They're saying that the 5090 is going to pull 600 watts. They're going 600, 550, but you're still going to have those transient spikes. It's going to spike at 250 watts more. So either way you look at it, it is what it is. Now, when it comes to the other graphics cards, let's kind of see if that what they do with the 5090 trickles down to the 5070. I'd love to see the 5070 do over 3.1 gigahertz on the clock. I would love to see it at 16 gigabytes of VRAM, GDR7. I would like to see it at about $550, $525. That'd be reasonable. And I would like to see it blow the 4080 out of the water. And the 7900 XTX. That would be amazing. I think it would. Kata says the price of AMD Ryzen 7 7800X3D went up to 390 euros in Germany as the Intel problems got more public. Yeah, because the demand went up on the 7800X3D and they started running out. They started running out of the product. So the price is going to go up. I know it's been all over the news. So, yeah, I do agree with that. MTBK says PC game hardware. Dave and Santi says the 7800X3D was seen for 299 euros once. Well, if you're over here in the United States and you bought the combination pack from Micro Center, because you get the RAM, you get the motherboard, and the processor would have been valued at 299 US dollars. Just to let you guys know that. Now it'll probably be what, like 349 or 359 in euros. Somewhere in there. I don't have a calculator in front of me. I'm just telling you what, I estimated it at. So. But, you know how that goes. Amazon is sold out of the 7800X3D right now. Yeah, because pretty much everybody's... Guys, I'm going to tell you. A lot of people are RMAing back their 13th and 14th gen processors. Half of them are running over here to AMD. You're going to see a lot of processors for AMD start to run out on Amazon and all those, Newegg and, even eBay. Probably the used ones will start running out soon. So, it's kind of a lot to think about. It's a lot to think about at this point. I don't think about it. I'm going to tell you why I don't think about it. Because I'm running a Zen 3 processor, 5700X. I'm happy with it. With a B550 motherboard and the RX 4070. 64 gigs of RAM. Does what I need. So I don't need to worry about jumping up to that next level, knowing that the price is going to be too high. As it's going to cost you about $1,000 to jump up to the basic minimal of that level. I know some people are going to disagree with that, but if you want a mid-level PC that's, Zen 4 that's decent, you're going to pay mid-level prices. So that's going to be up to you if you want to pay that kind of price. I'm going to stay on AM4 for a little while longer before I decide to make the plunge. So MTBK says, and there are fake versions out there. Yep. You got it right. MTBK's got it right. What they've been doing is they've been selling off third-party fake versions of GPUs, CPUs, and a bunch of things. So if you're going to buy on Amazon or Newegg or wherever, make sure you're buying from their warehouses. Do not buy third-party sellers. Oh, my nose is getting plugged up, guys. Can't help it. DeBauer made news. I'm not affected because I don't intend to buy a 7800X3D. Well, truthfully, I don't either. I'm happy with what I got. I have the 5700X. I have 2 backup processors. So if one goes out, I got 2 more backups, so I don't have to worry about them. And I know they all work. They all work. They all been benchmarked. They all been tested. They work. So I don't have to worry about that. Kata says, as long as no hardware breaks, I'm happy for now. May the hardware last a long time. Well, the only way the hardware will last a long time is the simple fact is how you treat your hardware. You beat the crap out of it, overclocking it to its max and pushing it beyond. Yeah, it's not going to last long. But if you keep it running in a balance, when you play your games, you keep the temperature down low and you balance everything out. Pretty much if you got a PC case that has enough airflow that will just go right through your whole PC and cause a wind tunnel to keep everything cool, your PC is going to last forever. Keeping the dust out of your fans, keeping the dust off of your motherboard, keeping your PC clean, that's another thing. Not a lot of people take that into consideration. One time I was taking and cleaning a PC for a friend. Ooh, you kind of get my point right there. The dust was about maybe that thick on the fan. You had almost about a 1/4 inch of dust on each blade of the fan. I was like, dude, if you hold the fan blade firmly without breaking it, and you take a vacuum and you suck up all that dust around that fan, your PC would last a lot longer. Oh. And when I got to his GPU, I was like, oh my God. Had to take apart his GPU. Couldn't even see the fan blades. Guys, your PC's dusty when you can't see the frickin' fan blades. You just see the dust rolling around in circles. And you can't even see the fan blades. That is bad. Ugh. As long as... For almost 20 years, I only had notebooks. This is my first desktop PC in a long time. So I had nothing to upgrade. I needed everything new. That's cool. That is cool. I have the Corsair 6500X. Nice. With an AIO and 10 case fans. Yeah. And the 4090 has 3 additional. So I will see all the dust in the case. Oh yeah, you will. Oh yeah. As long as you get a good power supply and your fans are kept clean every 6 months. This 1 year thing, I'm gonna give you a helpful hint. Don't let your PC go past a year. Schedule every 6 months and get your PC cleaned. It's got to be fumigated every 6 months. Trust me. Even though mine don't look dusty, I fumigate mine every 6 months regardless. Because all my fans are ball bearing fans. But the last thing I need is it to quit. Because it's pricey. It's expensive. You spend $100 on the case. You spend $40 on the fans. You spend 160 on the motherboard, you spend 600 on a GPU, you spend 160 on a processor, you spend $100 on a AIO cooler, all that money adds up. And you want to keep your PC cleaned every 6 months, because if not, then you can look at and say, well, it blew up. And that's the last thing you want to hear. Truthfully. How you do it? Have nothing for it yet. What do you mean? I'm just saying. No, mine don't. No. Now I can understand MTBK saying, like you're saying, oh, yeah, you can go on Amazon, Kata, you can go on Amazon and get one of those dust blowers, but do one thing. Let me see if I got a. Oh, oh. And I do. See, with your fan is right here. Okay, this one's got a little dust on it. You can get one of those little vacuums, little dust busters, the little vacuums that'll blow out the dust. Instead of your fan spinning, put your finger right there firmly on the fan, keep it from spinning, and then use your duster and blow out all the dust on both sides of the fan. And then after that, a toothbrush and alcohol. That's what you need, is to go in between all the blades and clean out all the junk that's stuck up in between the hub and the blades. So basically, it's not hard to clean a fan. You just got how many of them to clean. So you can build a stair and a table a couple of inches above the floor will keep the dust away very efficiently. If you keep, now, MTBK, I'm going to explain this. If you keep a PC too far to the ceiling, it'll collect more dust. If you keep a PC 4 feet above carpeted floor, it won't collect dust. But 4 feet from the ceiling, it will. 4 feet from the floor, it won't. For some reason. Don't ask me why. I did this test many of times. Found out that 1 foot off of the floor, it gets dusty. Because your feet shuffle on the carpet, creating that dust of pollen, and your blades just suck it right up into your PC. And when you're taking and dusting off and stuff, all that dust floats to the ceiling. So whatever fan computer system you have up on the ceiling, all that gets sucked into the PC as well. But in between, for some reason, there's like a little fine line that gets less dusty for some reason. Who knows? It's not rocket science. I just found being 4 feet off the floor gets you the less amount of dust than the everything. You're in a corner, less amount of dust. You know, just got to pay attention. That's all. Okay. Kata says, I normal dust blower and brush. Yeah, pretty much. Nods. Understand what you mean. Cool. Yes, my PC will not stand directly on the floor. Well, with many PCs, you don't want them on the floor. That's where everybody makes the biggest mistake. That static electricity, putting your grounded PC with that static electricity on the floor. Don't think that static can't jump into your PC. Through the positively charged particles that the dust kicks up from your feet, from the floor of the carpet, gets into the PC with positively charged dust. You think it's impossible? It's not. I've watched people blow up PC after PC putting it on carpet. So, that's just my opinion, guys. When it comes to that, keep your PC 4 feet off of the ground. Mine is exactly 4 feet off of the ground. So, let's see. Let's talk about one thing we haven't talked about today. How's the weather? How is the weather going on in your state, your country, wherever you're at? What kind of weather are you having? I just wanted to talk about it real quick because I had the worst weather today. 116 degrees Fahrenheit. It was hotter than hot can be. Kata says, I hope this keeps out some extra dust that could get in through the other holes. Well, you know, I'm gonna give you a little helpful hint. You know what a coffee filter's used for? Now, what people don't understand is that when you have air channels around your PC, some people tend to find that using coffee filters, very airy coffee filters, seem to collect dust, and it doesn't get into the PC at all. Depending on your setup and situation, all depends on what you got. You can set up something to where, you know, you have like a little dust filter. I mean, even a foam filter. They do make those little foam filters that you can take and put in around your PC. The intake of your PC, where it sucks the air in. You can put foam filters and keep dust out. But it doesn't totally keep all the dust out, because you're going to have nooks and crannies that's still going to suck air in from somewhere. So, but it's a 80 to 85% chance better to find those little foam cubes. And if you got something like, you know, the air controlled like I have on my PC, I can stick foam cubes around the sides, and I got an instant dust filter. Just black foam cubes. And you wouldn't notice the difference. So, The Corsair case also has a kind of dust filter where the air is blown in. Okay. Which is quite helpful. Yeah, because all you got to do is pop off the cover, and then you got that dust filter right there. You can pull it off, wash it off, dry it off, put it back on. Yeah, I do agree with that. And since there are more fans blowing in than out, there is also a slight overpressure. Ooh, that's not good. Always keep in mind of this. If you got, let's say, 3, 6, 7, 3 fans, you got 10 fans. You got 3 in the front. Those are your intakes. Those are the ones that take the air in. Okay, you got 3 fans on top that suck the air out. You got 1 fan in back that sucks the air out. You got 3 fans on the bottom that bring the air in. But there's a negative pressure on the 3 fans that are down at the bottom where the power supply would be. There's a negative pressure. That means you're only going to get 40% of the air coming off the bottom ones than you would going through the front. So this pushes the air upwards into your GPU. So there's another 20 to 25% cutoff from the top fans. So your positive pressure, your overpressuring of positive turns into a balanced neutral at that point. It becomes a balanced neutral because your graphics card cuts off 80% of the flow that's going up to your top fans. Now, if your bottom fans were more powerful than your top fans, then it would overpower your front fans. And then, yeah, that would be an overpowering situation. So the fans always on the bottom towards where the power supply is, they only got so much room to suck air up through there. Part of the air that you're getting through there is cut off by your GPU or your PSU, your power supply. So you're only getting a portion of air from your bottom pushing up, and it's only between 20 and 40%. So it has to get past your GPU. Now you only got like a 10% upflow. So basically most of the air is coming in from your front, not from your bottom. I don't know why people put fans down there. They're totally useless. Unless you turn them around. Unless you turn them around and they're sucking the air out. Which I wouldn't do that neither. Look, your PSU's got a fan of its own. You don't need more air down there. Not unless you're running SATA SSD. If you're running SATA SSD, then I can see having that 1 extra fan down there at the bottom be okay. But you really don't need 3 extra fans down there. It's overkill. Let's see. Weather was sunny and hot here today. Well, it was murder here today, I'll tell you that much. MTBK says it's warm over here, but ventilators are running. I know, you can barely breathe with the hot temperatures, right? Just scorching. Yep, 116 degrees Fahrenheit. Hello, Kifa. Good to see you. I will say low fans for GPU. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's pretty much all they're going to be used. You're lucky to get 10% of the additional air above where the GPU is. I mean, that's truth and reality. I mean, it's like if you got a square box and you got a big stick that sticks out and gives you this much room, how are you going to take those three fans and squeeze 100% of that air around that big stick? Ain't happening. So, your overpowering pressure turns into equal pressure by giving you more cooling on your GPU. So, my power supply is in the back chamber. Oh, it's on the back side. Oh. So you got one of those flipped up power supply PSUs that are in the back, and you got this much room in the back of the case. Those aren't bad. I just like mine on the bottom because when it pulls in the air, it pushes it down and out. And it doesn't push hot air into the system. That's the only reason why I like the PSUs down at the bottom. Because as long as it's not pushing the air up through and it's pushing it down and out, then the heat's not coming into the case. So, kind of what you got to look at too. So I think it has its on circulation. Yeah, you're on circulation. You don't have to worry about that. Okay, you had much more temperature than we had. Yeah, I know. Here in Kentucky, machine says, it is 79 degrees Fahrenheit. Lucky you. Okay, just saying. Kifa says, you can link that 3 fans with GPU temp. You could, but if you want to keep things cool all the time, depending on how much noise, I like keeping mine running at my fans right now. My PC are running at 100%. All my fans are running at 100%, except for my GPU, which is running at 80%. I don't even hear it. But I know it's pushing out hardcore air from the top, but I don't hear the fans. That's how well I structured my PC case with my fans and everything else. And it's pushing a lot of CFMs. So that thing keeps everything below 70 degrees, 71, 72, somewhere in there. Right now, my CPU is only running at 41 degrees Celsius. And my GPU is only running at 31 degrees Celsius. So, 73.4 Fahrenheit over here. Yep, lucky MTBK, you're lucky, 73.4. Same in my case, power supply down. Cool. My case, Crosshair 7000D. That's a good case, Kifa. That's a good case. Kata says, I had 2 alts on today with ultra settings, one in the club, and almost 80 avatars, and one of the normal single sims. Worked fine, no problem, and temp over here all was fine too, and the GPU fan blew on 30% still. That's not too bad. I just like mine going out hardcore. See, you gotta understand the way I got my fans designed where each fan is designed at 2700 RPMs. Okay. All my fans are running at 2700 RPMs. Now the GPU, the GPU is only running at 18, 19, maybe 2000 RPMs. Now I got the AIO cooler, the pump, I got that running at 3000 RPMs. So with all that going the way it is, I still can't hear it. Everybody complains about too much noise, but if you buy the right parts and balance it, you won't hear a thing and it'll keep it ultra cool. Mine stays ultra cool, and that's what I like about it. So, Kifa says, don't talk about the weather. I'm here from the Middle East and it's really hot here. I imagine it's really hot there. I would imagine it's really hot. Kata says, at the moment my GPU has 33C and 41C hotspot EMP. Cool. And my CPU has 57C at the moment. I don't hear my fans much too. Oh, that's cool. Hey, you balanced out your system perfectly. It works for you. That's all that matters. Just like I've balanced my PC and it works out for me too. No one denies that you have a bad PC. No one says, basically nobody says you have a bad PC. You have an awesome PC. As long as you're happy with it and it runs the way you want it to run, there's nothing to be said. That's pretty much it. So, yeah, again and again, if I'm only with one the GPU fans often stop running. Yeah, because you get that zero setting. Basically, when there's no heat coming off of, well, there's some heat coming off the GPU, but it's at a certain temperature, it cuts the fans off. At a certain temp, it'll cut the fans off, and basically the fans won't start up again until you put more stress on the GPU. That's basically how it works. Oh, what? Can you guys still hear me? Do you feel like it's running on Windows 95 or 98 or XP? Or me, or Windows 7? Wouldn't you like to have your PC feel like it's running on Windows 11? Well, maybe it's time to get it beastie. Are you ready to get it beastie? Stay tuned. All right, let's bring it back again, guys. I can't believe I was sitting here shadow talking. What the hell happened? I guess YouTube went crazy on me. Sorry about that. We got the video back. Okay, let's get back to it, guys. When I have the Kifa, if I know the 13900K is not the greatest, but it's not the worst neither. Even though I know that Intel's got all those issues, But you can always undervolt that processor and make it last longer. You know, what a lot of people don't understand is that the thing is, when you play games, your GPU takes 100% of the fall. Basically meaning that your processor should only be taking between 15 and 30% of usage for any game. So, and if it's running up to 100% usage playing that game, then you need a better processor. But if it doesn't run over 30 to 50%, then it's not the processor. Could be the way you got it clocked. If you don't balance it in between the two, that's what I basically learned a long time ago, was that if you undervolt your processor, your CPU, and you run your GPU normally, you'll have a great gameplay. And it's balanced between the two. Low power, better performance is what you need. I was watching a YouTube video about risky TikTok challenges. Yeah, man, let me put it to you this way. MTBK, I don't even look at them TikTok challenges. They can stay over on TikTok. TikTok is basically like a Tic Tac. It ain't gonna be stuck on my, whatever. Video was stuck, but I listened to you very carefully. Well, I don't know how it got stuck. It showed everything that was fine. I mean, I'm running at 60 FPS, and I'm running at, I'm only using 5 megs per second. That's what it says. So, and plus I got plenty of room for, bandwidth. So I don't see what the issue was. It's got to be something on YouTube part, because it turned around, it froze what was on YouTube, and I had to restart everything. But you guys didn't get kicked off of the video is because I did it really quick. It worked. So now I'm back. Okay, I am watching a YouTube video. We already talked about that. Keith says, I don't blame Intel, only I blame motherboard factory. Keith, let me explain this to you. Motherboard manufacturers only follow what CPU makers for those motherboards put out there as far as boundaries. Only the CPU manufacturers set the boundaries on these processors. The motherboard manufacturers cannot go beyond that boundary, for the simple fact is, basically what it comes down to is, you have baseline levels, okay? All motherboard manufacturers put everything at baseline level. So basically, whatever you do beyond that, beyond stock level, they call it stock level, baseline level, same thing. So when you go beyond stock level and you go in there and start tweaking things in the motherboard BIOS, then that kind of puts pressure onto your CPU. But there's safety catches on all CPUs that it can't be pushed past a certain point, or it will blue screen. So that's pretty much what it comes down to, and it was Intel's fault for not putting boundaries in place on their CPUs, as well as putting it in with the motherboard manufacturers. They didn't do that until somebody started complaining. That's when they started implementing all this, when they started getting several amounts of complaints. They don't, none of these companies do anything until they see that they get a lot of complaints. And then they start doing something. But not enough to help the consumer. They do enough to help themselves, but they don't do enough to help the consumer. So, that's just my opinion. Let's see. Kata says, yeah, BIOS updates got very important. Yeah, if you're running it in Intel, yeah, they did. AMD, they weren't that important. They only got important when they brought in the new X3D series, and then that became an important thing to them. So they had to do, and plus the AMD vulnerability, to where somebody can crack into the motherboard BIOS through some kind of sections in the processor. They could work their way around the hardware and embed some crap into your computer to cause your AMD processor to run freaky. So yeah. MTBK says 13900K is 481 euros. Now i7 14700K is 370 euros. You know what I found out? The 5700X is $159. It can run moderate level GPUs, just like the 5800X being at $160. If you're looking for a low budget gaming PC, I would start with a decent B550 motherboard, which don't range but over $120. But I'm sure if you look hard enough, you can build yourself an AM5 series for $200 more. So, I do agree with some of you guys on some of the things. I do agree with you. Prices are going to start going up as soon as the new product comes out. But if you listen to what I said on my last video, I said it would be nice if these companies, when they bring out their new generation, they might make it a little pricey, yes, but drop half the price off on the older generation. So this current generation, they should cut everything in half and then say, here you guys go. And if you guys are down at the bottom, now you got your chance. They've made their money. They're just embezzling all that profit. That's all they're doing. Money's already been made. It's there. They've already made their money tenfold over. Let's see. I think Intel said nothing because no limit brings better benchmarks and more people will buy. Yeah, I agree, Kata. I agree. Pseudoscientist says, I was AFK listening, found the fan talk interesting. Since I'm going to try to build my own tower. You got two kind of pressures. You got your positive pressure and you got your negative pressure. Okay. Now, if you want a negative pressure system, which is not recommended, what you can do is you can take and make your back fan, your top fans, and your front fans all blow out. They suck the air out, but you have no fans down at the bottom, because that pulls the fresh air in from the bottom, which hot air rises, and it makes no sense to do negative pressure. You want to stay at a positive pressure. 3 fans pulling the airs into the case, 3 fans up at top, 1 in the back pulling the air out. You want it to come up and go into an angle like this. The air through your case. You want it to come up and go into an angle. Because 1, it pulls air into your GPU and keeps it cool. And 2, it pulls air into your motherboard, keeping it cool. And 3, it pulls air into your system RAM, keeping it cool. So having 3 big front fans pushing air in and 4 big fans in the back pulling air out is still positive pressure. But if they're all balanced at the same RPMs, you got nothing to worry about. So, will they make a Raptor Lake Graveyard theme park? MTBK, good question. They might. They might take all the metal and stuff and melt it all down and, make a yellow brick road. They might have enough gold in there to make a yellow brick road. Maybe 1 brick out of 1 brick that's this thick, this wide, this long. It would take all the CPU, all the 13th and 14th gen CPUs that they made, all the metals, to make that 1 brick. I don't know. Seems crazy to me. Yes, if they can make money with it, yeah, they could. You can get a little bit of gold out of processors and stuff like that. Even your telephones got at least an ounce of gold in there. This time everybody's sitting there saying, "Oh, I'm going to throw my phone away." You got an ounce of gold inside your telephone. Why would you throw it away? That's why phones are so expensive. Kifa says, my BIOS update for 13 gen and 14 gen, not really good. Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. Intel has no hope for Raptor Lake. Raptor Lake has none. It's pretty much at the point where it's a dead platform. That's the reason why they're coming out with Arrow Lake and stuff like that. But Raptor Lake is pretty much a dead platform. And that's the way, from what I hear, that's the way Intel was talking about it. So, just keep that in mind, guys. It is at the end of that platform, and yeah, it is. Might not be considered you guys a dead platform, but it is a dead-end platform. Basically, the new platform will come out sooner or later for Intel. So. Gato says, for fans and AIO, I use the Corsair IQ. I don't like IQ. Don't get me wrong. It's just the reason why is because of the RGB. I would rather have the RGB independent from the motherboard. Because even though that pulls low levels from the motherboard, I would only want one system fan on the motherboard, and that's it. As far as the regular fans and everything else, I'd rather have a fan hub that connects directly into the power supply, with that fan hub having all the RGB connected to it, and the only connection that I would have for RGB would be from the AIO, the hub cooler that's on top of the CPU, that connects the pump to the motherboard and connects the RGB to the motherboard. Those are the only thing I connect to the motherboard. But when it comes to the fans with RGB, this is what I use. Right here. This controls the fans, the fan speed. This controls the RGB, whatever color I want, solid, whatever, everything. So that extra energy you would have been pulling off of your motherboard would have been slowing it down. And this is where everybody gets it wrong. The more power you pull off of that motherboard, the more it slows it down. Because now it's starting to starve certain components from the actual voltage. Because you got what they call a voltage drop. So if it's pulling more volts and more watts from one place, it's going through a voltage drop in the other places. So if you want a happy, balanced motherboard, this is the best way to go. Just being honest with you. So. Let's see. But yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. A lot of people have different preferences, but that IQ doesn't run well with the lighting sources from Asus motherboard. Some motherboards that IQ runs well with, but I have heard reports on IQ having confliction issues with trying to run one program with all the RGB lighting on it. It's been a mess. So if you can find your way out of a mess, best to find a solution to the problem. Which I don't worry about the RGB on the motherboard, which it's preset and it's done. And I got my fan RGB, so I control that. Everything's under control. But not pulling too much power off the motherboard to kill it. They just get ridiculous and, with the RGB and stuff. Because motherboard manufacturers still haven't got their head out their butt and realized that, putting the right amount of RGB connectors on the motherboard would suffice and help with the fans, where you didn't have to daisy chain the hell out of the fans just to get them all working on the motherboard. They still don't get it. You only can pull 3 watts off of one connector. After that, you burn it up. And knowing that if you're running 10 fans off of one connector, you're definitely going to pull over 3 watts. So, it means it won't last long. Suicide says, I'm laying motherboard flat, pointing 3 intake fans on each side. Motherboards, 3 bigger fans up top for exhaust, PSU is below separate area, air in, air out. You know, I got a better idea, pseudoscientist. Why not take and flip your computer flat, put 4 feet on the bottom, take the front glass case off, go to Walmart, get a $20 box fan, okay, turn the exhaust side out, and have 7 fans pulling air in from side to side. Sound crazy? I know a person that did that. And that PC sounded like it's like sticking your head out the window of your car going at about 70 miles an hour. That's about how it sounded. That was crazy. So, September 24th, Lunar Lake cores better be strong. That's not what I'm hearing. No hyper threading, I am fine with it. MTBK. I want to see the testing results on those processors. Because I guarantee it's going to be like what they did with the 9000X series of AMD. Barely anybody bought them in the beginning. That's the reason why they had to lower prices. Something tells me that's what's going to happen again, because they're going to make you pay more for lower performance. Everybody just doesn't see that. Guys, you don't see that. You're paying more for less. And I guarantee Intel doesn't have it all there. So, we'll see when it happens when it comes out. We'll see what happens when the new Intel processors come out. And let's see how people say. There's 2 ways they can say this. They can praise it to death and say, oh my God, it's the best thing in the world. And then there's another way to where they can say, oh my God, I threw that frickin' thing in the garbage. So you got to look at the pros and the cons. Is it going to be great, or is it going to be bad? Or is it really going to suck? Who knows? I don't trust other people's benchmarks. I take overall what I see on the whole internet as a suggestive whole, basically like average, and that tells me what my conclusion is about that processor. If I had it in my hand and I tested it and I look at everybody else's testing and they're getting more than I'm getting, then there's a problem. But if I'm getting more than they're getting, there's definitely a problem. But if we're all even on the same amount of output, then there's not a problem. But I haven't been seeing that. You go through all the reviewers that have been reviewing products. Every one of them, it's like a seesaw. I never see it any consistency whatsoever. I never see ever see 2 different reviewers come up with the same conclusion for that product. One person says it's great, next person says it sucks. We don't know. And I've always said to these companies, you want to make me a believer, then send me the product, let me test it, and I'll send it back to you with a note to let you know if it's good, bad, or it sucks. And I've always said that. Not like that, but you guys know. If they send me a product to test, I test the product, put the video out, and show you guys my conclusions. Guess what happens? Guess what I'm showing you? It's either it's good or it's bad. Either it's great or it sucks. And if the product sucks, I'm going to tell you about it. If it's great, I'm going to tell you about it. So either way, I'm going to tell you. And that's how you got to look at it. Let me catch up with you guys a little bit and see what you got going on. The IQ stuff has its own controllers with own power supply from PSU. Oh, that's cool. That is cool. So that way you don't have to deal with the confliction between the motherboard RGB and the IQ RGB. It's best less headache. I mean, truthfully, it's best with less headache. So, by putting my radiator in a separate area, it plumbs the heat out as well. But you're missing one valuable part by putting your radiator out in a different section. And I hope if you did that, inside the case, you have 3 fans still at top pulling air out. Because with that centralization of those fans, they pull the air forcibly over the motherboard to keep it cool. Just saying, pseudoscientists, I don't know how you guys got it exactly set up, but I'm just saying, without having those 3 top fans to pull that coolness over your motherboard, then it starts heating up the chips on the motherboard and becomes a really big issue. So make sure you got 3 fans in the top, always. Keith says, I don't like IQ, I have a lot of bugs. That's the reason why I always tell everybody, you find these kind of fans with the remote, you'll be better off. What would you rather do? Have 2 weeks of headaches and having your PC crash all the time because of your RGB? Or would you rather just go out and spend 99 cents on a battery and have a remote that controls everything in your PC? You know, when it comes to the cooling of your everything around your PC case for your fans, that's the best way to go, I think. Always good to have a remote. So, okay, moving on. Catching up with you guys. Oh, I have an Asus X670E. Cool. With the 4090. That's cool, Kata. That is cool. Up to now, all runs fine together, even with RGB. Awesome. Speak of daisy chains. Just bought 10X power strips 2 months ago. Good luck there, MTBK. 9700X pegged at 88 watts all the time. DeBauer said that 65 watt TDP power limit holds it back. Actually, because let me explain a little bit to you about that. Okay. They can go up to 143 watts on a 65 watt processor. The motherboard will peg it out at 143 watts if at stock, if you don't go into the BIOS and set the PPT down to 88. Believe it or not, it's everything sets on auto in the motherboard, it will fluctuate it all the way up to 143 watts off the processor being set at stock. For some reason, that's what's happening right now. I had that happen already. It's the reason why I had to move my 65 watt processor to clip it at 88 watts PPT. I had to clip the PPT at 88 watts, but it didn't hurt the performance. That was a good thing. It didn't hurt performance because either way I look at it, it just wants to go. It's something going on with Windows right now. I think it is. So, pseudoscientist says I'm making a small piece of furniture with legs. I'm going to use the old piano. That's cool. And turn it into a steampunk look. Had to explain in a chat. If I actually get it done, I'll send pics. Okay, that's cool. Kata says Intel CPUs pull more power, I heard, but no idea. Yeah, they do. They pull 253 watts. Not unless they're unlocked, then they pull up to 400 watts. Once they're unlocked, you can pull them all the way up to 400 watts if you want to pull it that much. But if you do, then you better be ready for the degrading of the processor. Because that silicon's only going to last up to 253 watts. Especially if you're going to pull 400 watts, then you're going to be looking at the voltage on that processor being at 1.7 volts, 1.65 or something like that. Like I said, the processor will blow up before you get it all the way out 400 watts. Continuous, not fluctuation watts. Continuous. Pseudoscientist, I bought an IQ something refurbished. Was 350, 400 for 100. Had the temperature LCD I wanted. Awesome. Oh, and in 420 millimeter size. So I gambled. So what'd you do? If you got a 420 millimeter radiator, and you got a 382 millimeter case going longwise. A lot of people, what they say is you cut out the back, you cut a little slot out the back and let it hang out the back. Let it hang out the back with an extra fan on it. I have no... Guys, I cannot say much more how crazy that sounds. But anyway, some people do it. They'll go into the back of their PC case. They'll take tin snippers and they'll snip out a big square in the back of their PC case, and they hang a 120 millimeter fan strapped up to the radiator outside of the case. So you got 360 and 120 out of the case. The craziest things I see. I've saw that already. So oh wow, guys, you guys are chatting a lot. I'm missing everything. But at high loads, AMD CPUs are more efficient. Yeah, they are. I agree, MTBK. Most of the time. So it's depending on clocks, silicon quality, and architecture. Most true. Kata says, oh, internal discussion with MTBK. Internal discussion. My i7 2650H is 1 watt at idle. Can go up to 70 watts at 4.7 gigahertz tops. Yeah, well, mine can go up to 4.850 gigahertz at 91 watts. You know, I reclocked my CPU, and I clocked it at 4.850 gigahertz. And you know, the RX, not the RX, the Ryzen 7 5700X clocks at 4.650. Mine's clocking at 4.850. I clocked it up 200 megahertz higher, and I've been running it that way all this time, and it's still not degrading. The power of the processor hasn't changed. So running it at 4.650 compared to running it at 4.850 gigahertz max clock shows, after my test, it runs the same damn power. So the power doesn't change. That's the crazy problem. Oh, now I'm catching up with you guys. I'm an Intel CPU guy also, but what's the but there, pseudoscientist? What's the but? You put a butt there, and hopefully it's not a cigarette butt, but, you know, what was the butt? Kata says, if I remember right, all my notebooks I had in the last 20 years had Intel too. Yeah, well, you get Intel's a known brand. Intel's a known brand that's been running since God created it. Back in, what, 69? 70 or something like that. But I've ran Intel in the 286 series processors, the 8086, back in the 80s. I ran Intel all the way up to when AMD started to get better at their processors. And once they came out with the Ryzen, I switched. I switched from Intel to Ryzen. I had better luck with Ryzen than I did with Intel. So, I know everybody's going to say, well, the 10th gen was great. Yeah, I do agree. 12th gen was great too. But after that, out of all that good and bad, Intel seemed to have more bad on its plate than good. And AMD kind of kept their CPU line spread running in the right direction. So AMD made the stride when they came into the the Ryzen series that keep everything right at, top shelf. They pretty much did, so I'm going to give them that. Yeah. So the scientists, I do agree. 13th and 14th gen turned out, like you said, to be garbage. I don't really see it. I really don't even see the new Arrow Lake processors to be any better than the garbage they already put out. So, but, we never know. Intel might make a comeback. Arrow Lake processors might make the comeback for Intel. But I don't think they're going to make much of a comeback because their stocks keep falling below $20. But also, too, Nvidia stock, it dropped about $280 million plus because of the stock market. Stock market got shook up. They thought they were going to... Everybody thought Nvidia's going to lose their shirt in court because of the lawsuit that they're going to have. Yeah. Right now, Nvidia's got to worry about a lawsuit that's kind of shaking up the market and shaking up the stock market as well. The PC market and the stock market are being shook up about this lawsuit that's going to happen with Nvidia. All right. Intel was founded in 1968 by Fairchild Semiconductor employees. That is correct. '11th gen was bad, and 13, 14 gen's bad. Yep. 10th gen, 9th and 10th gen turned out great. 11th gen was a nightmare. I know, I remember all this. The 11th gen was a nightmare. 12th gen was great. 12900K. And I'm going to give this. The 12900K is the only processor I think that Intel ever had the best of the best was the 12900K. Out of all their processors, that's the only processor I see that's worth value. That's my opinion. Let's see. Better Intel make a comeback, else we pay moon prices. Yep, pretty much. Pretty much you're going to pay moon prices. For AMD stuff, yeah. I mean, I agree. I mean, everybody's going to stick with AMD when it comes to their processors. But there's a little bit of news that everybody might, and if Nvidia does the right thing and brings the prices down low enough on their new GPUs and puts mid and low level GPUs out there as well, they could corner the market right now. They could corner the market. So AMD's got a lot to worry about. Because remember, Nvidia can flip on a coin. And they could take and lower their prices. I mean, deep lower. And then it would take and blow AMD completely out of the water. And they wouldn't know what to do with themselves. So keep that in mind. My 4-year notebook has an i9 10 something. Probably a 10600 or 10700. No, wait a minute. Maybe a 10400. Could be somewhere in there. Better Intel make a comeback. Yeah. I'm gambling the Ultra Core CPUs because if they are garbage, Intel is done. Yeah, pseudoscientists, I do agree. If they are garbage, Intel is definitely going to be bankrupt because there's nothing they can do. Not even their GPU line could pull them out of this hole. You know, when it comes to the gamers. They might as well just get out of the gaming business altogether and just stick with the big business and deal with processors that way. But when it comes to the gaming, they might as well give it up because that's pretty much what they're going to have is no choice. Because if they can't keep funding and making new product and they can't afford it, then how are they going to come up with the next new thing? There isn't going to be a next new thing. That's what a lot of people don't understand. There is not going to be a next new thing. And that's what's scary at this moment. Look at it this way. They don't have their new generation out. AMD's already got their new generation out. Okay? And plus, AMD did one better. They extended the new generation out. They extended the new generation out. Look what Intel did. They didn't extend any of their generation out into something new. They just sold everybody the old garbage. Period. So, that's just my opinion. So, Kifa says, I will buy a new CPU, but not sure which one yet. Not sure if trust Intel Arrow Lake or go to the 9800X3D. Truthfully, I'm going to be honest with you, go with the 9800X3D. I'm going to tell you why. Look at the positives. You can overclock a 9800X3D. You can undervolt a 9800X3D. As far as power consumption and everything else, it's pretty much a balance. Now, the 9800X3D is going to have more cache, L cache on it. So it's going to make it just as promising as the 7800X3D. But the difference between the 9800X3D and the 7800X3D is the 7800X3D is a locked, certain things are locked on that processor. 9800X3D, everything's supposed to be unlocked. So keep that in mind. Now with Intel, you don't know which way to go. Nobody does. Because after that debacle they just had, and now with them slowly creeping out up to the next generation of their line, I don't even know if they're going to survive it. I don't even know if that CPU they got coming out is going to be good enough for the X3D capabilities, because I tell you, everybody wants to stay with hyper-threading. Everybody wants to stay with that hyper-threading, and they're going to stick with AMD. So, I don't know. It's kind of looking like a lost cause for Intel. It is looking like a lost cause for Intel. Now, I'm just being honest with you. Looks like a lost cause. I9-1088-5M. I9-1088-5H. Or the I9-10980HK. Also, the scientists, I mean, I'm not committed with Intel. I'd tell you that right now. I'm not committed with Intel for the simple fact all the negatives don't weigh up to anything positive. So hey, look, laptops, that's a different story. Laptops, I know MTBK, I know you got a laptop, and I know it's Intel, and I know it's running great for you. That's fine. This is just on the desktop level. Just desktop, not laptop, desktop level. It's looking really bad for the desktop level. Now, laptop level, different story. It seems to be running okay for the laptops. But desktops, forget it. It's not running well. So that's what we're going by. That's the going boundaries that we got right now. Laptops are running okay. Desktops for Intel suck. So, let me see. Nvidia will release CPU next year. Yeah, Kifa. Yeah, they're working on a new, and Nvidia's working on a new CPU with what is that, Metalink or something like that. Yeah, I did, and it's going to be like an upgraded ARM kind of processor. Like, it's not going to be x86, so not like Intel and AMD are fighting back and forth with. Nvidia is getting with other companies and creating a new type of processor that is going to surpass the x86. That's going to surpass the Snapdragon processor. That's going to surpass the ARM processor. It's all new, being R&D'd, and I like to see what it is, because it's the way they're making it sounds very interesting. So that I do agree with. I have problem with 7800X 3D in sports game. When I play at 1080p, the low 1% FPS is really bad. Well, ask yourself this question. Is it choppy? If you're not having any choppiness or any micro stuttering, and they're real low, but it's not affecting any of the visuals, then there's not really much to worry about. But if it's affecting a lot of your visuals and it's stuttering and all that, then yeah, then that means that you set your GPU, the settings, the display settings on the game too high. So you bring them back down a little bit so you get a rebalance just a little bit, so that way you can get your 1% lows back up. So it's just like it's a balancing game. You got to balance it out to make it run smooth. It's not so much all in the visualization. 70% visualization, 30% correcting a balance between the CPU and the GPU. So That's something to keep in mind. Just saying. Let me catch up with you guys. You guys are chatting away like crazy. Hyperthreading makes a processor core calculate two threads at the same time. Yeah, we know. But it does much more than that. It basically creates a one thread portal with hundreds to thousands of interactive cores that go through that individual thread. It's basically a bidirectional thread that information flows back and forth. Inside of one solid threaded core, you have thousands of little subcores. If that makes sense to you, there's little sub portals through there. It just doesn't say, well, one set of information goes through and that's it. There's a lot more information that goes through a thread. That's the reason why they call it a thread, because there's millions and millions of different slices of information that do slide through one thread. So keep that in mind. If I do buy an AMD CPU, I am going to lie and tell everyone I bought an Intel CPU. Pseudoscientist, that's about the best thing you can do, my friend. That's about the best thing you can do. Oh my god, guys. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to wrap it up here. It's been too long an hours, and I got things I got to crack out today, so it's been fun and it's been real, and I've been having fun with you guys on here, and I'm glad you guys, collaborating. You guys are talking with each other so that way you can get that information. So when you go to build your next one, it helps you out and everything else. And I know in the beginning I kind of snapped off a little bit, but I just wanted my point to be heard. Okay? Because everybody comes, I get a lot of emails and people just saying, a lot of different things, asking a lot of different questions. And I'm breaking it down basically saying this. This is just my final summation for this video, or this live video. Whatever other reviewers do on their channel, that's their channel. What I do on this channel with you guys here, this is our channel. So when they go to make asses out of themselves on their channel, doesn't mean they need to make asses out of us on my channel. See my point? Because if the case is, if they have problems, if their subscribers have problems over there on that channel, then why are they over on that channel when they can subscribe to this channel? I'm not stealing anybody, but I'm just making a positive point. If you don't want to deal with all that hubbub and everything else, and you don't want to deal with the drama day in and day out, we don't bring it here. We have fun at what we do. Everybody has fun at what we do. So, But anyway, guys, I'm going to jump out of here, and I hope y'all had fun. And also, too, if you're watching this live stream for the first time, make sure you subscribe, put a like on the live stream, and also, too, make sure you turn your notifications on so that way you know when we post the next video. And guys, I'm going to tell you, it's going to be a crazy week next week for me. So I'm going to try to get in as many videos as I can for next week. But I can tell you Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, I might not have a video. But maybe on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. How about that? But anyway, we will... Katha, I'm glad you had fun. I'm glad you had fun. Pseudoscientist, MTBK, Kifa, Machine, everybody on the channel. We'll get with you guys next week. Don't forget, noontime right here, Saturday. Don't forget, put it on your calendar. So, but anyway, we will see you on the next one, guys. Have fun, be safe, and we will see you then.